On the afternoon of October 2nd, 2018, a man walked into the Saudi consulate in Istanbul to collect paperwork needed for his upcoming wedding. His name was Jamal Khashoggi, a veteran journalist, former royal insider, and outspoken critic of Saudi Arabia's powerful crown prince. He never walked out. In the hours and days that followed, his fiancée waited outside the consulate. Turkish authorities launched a frantic investigation, and the world watched a diplomatic scandal unfold in real time. What began as a missing person case quickly turned into one of the most brazen political killings in recent memory, involving intelligence agencies, secret audio recordings, and international outcry that reached the highest levels of power. But who really ordered Jamal Khashoggi's killing? Why was he targeted? And how was such a high-profile murder carried out inside a diplomatic building and covered up? Welcome to Bad Things. Join us as we walk through the known facts, examine the conflicting narratives, and break down what, based on evidence and reason, most likely happened to Jamal Khashoggi. From insider to outsider. Jamal Khashoggi was born on October 13, 1958 in Medina, Saudi Arabia, into a well-connected family. His uncle, Adnan Khashoggi, was an international arms dealer, and he was a cousin of Dodi Fayed, who died alongside Princess Diana. After studying in the United States, earning a business degree from Indiana State University, Jamal returned home to pursue journalism. He wrote for Saudi Gazette and Okaz in the 1980s, covering major events across the region. As a foreign correspondent, he reported on the Soviet-Afghan War and interviewed Osama bin Laden multiple times in both Afghanistan and Sudan, charting bin Laden's evolution from rebel to wanted figure. In the 1990s, Khashoggi moved into editorial leadership. He became managing editor of Al Madina, then deputy editor-in-chief at Arab News. In 2003, he was named editor-in-chief of Al Watan, a prominent daily known for pushing progressive ideas. Just 52 days later, he was dismissed, reportedly over content critical of the religious establishment. Khashoggi remained active in media and politics. He worked in London and Washington as an advisor to Prince Turki Al Faisal, a former Saudi intelligence chief and then ambassador to the US. In 2007, he returned to Al Watan, but was again let go in 2010 after the paper published a column challenging religious orthodoxy. This cycle, promoting open discussion, then facing institutional pushback, became a defining feature of Khashoggi's career. Still, he remained part of Saudi Arabia's elite circles for years, maintaining ties to officials and royals alike. A new crown prince, a new reality. In 2015, Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, began consolidating power in Saudi Arabia. By 2017, he had been named crown prince and de facto ruler. His rise brought sweeping economic and social changes, as well as a clampdown on dissent. Khashoggi, who had launched a short-lived news channel called Al Arab in 2015, found himself increasingly constrained. After he publicly criticized Donald Trump in 2016, Saudi authorities banned him from publishing or appearing on television. By June 2017, Khashoggi had left the kingdom. He relocated to Washington, D.C., later citing fear of arrest following the detention of several critics and intellectuals. From abroad, he began writing a regular column for the Washington Post, starting in September 2017. In these pieces, Khashoggi continued to support aspects of reform, but criticized the broader political environment. "We Saudis deserve better," he wrote in one article, adding, "To do otherwise would betray those who languish in prison." A new life, a bureaucratic errand. While building a life in exile, Khashoggi also found personal happiness. In May 2018, he met Hatice Cengiz, a Turkish doctoral student, at a conference in Istanbul. The two became engaged. To marry in Turkey, however, he needed official documentation confirming his divorce from a previous marriage. Paperwork only obtainable from Saudi authorities. He first inquired at the Saudi embassy in Washington, D.C., but was advised to collect the document from the Saudi consulate in Istanbul instead. On September 28, 2018, he visited the consulate for the first time. Staff told him to return in a few days, saying the paperwork was not yet ready. October 2nd, 2018. The visit. 4 days later, Khashoggi returned to the consulate for his scheduled appointment. Before entering, he handed Hatice Cengiz his 2 mobile phones and asked her to wait outside. He reportedly told her to contact a Turkish official if he did not reappear. Security footage shows Khashoggi entering the consulate at 13:14 local time. Hatice waited outside. Hours passed. When she asked staff what had happened, they told her that Jamal had already left. She remained there until late that night and came back the next morning. Still no sign of him. Later that day, Turkish authorities opened an investigation into his disappearance. The Saudi government initially stated that Khashoggi had exited the building shortly after his appointment. Investigations begin. In the following days, the story developed rapidly. Turkish officials contradicted Saudi claims and said they had no evidence of Khashoggi leaving the building. Surveillance footage from the area did not show him exiting. On October 3rd, the Turkish government formally announced that he had not emerged from the consulate, and they began treating the case as a serious incident. International media picked up the story, and attention quickly turned to the events inside the building. News outlets reported that a team of 15 Saudi nationals had traveled to Istanbul shortly before the appointment. Some of them had arrived earlier that day, while others had come in days prior. The presence of this group became a focal point. Several members were identified in press reports as having backgrounds in Saudi security and intelligence. The Saudi government did not initially comment on these details. Changing narratives and global attention. On October 5th, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman spoke publicly, stating, "My understanding is he entered and got out after a few minutes, or 1 hour, I'm not sure." He also invited Turkish investigators to search the consulate. Behind the scenes, Turkish investigators were reportedly building a case, but their public statements remained restrained. On October 20th, nearly 3 weeks after Khashoggi disappeared, Saudi Arabia officially acknowledged that he had died inside the consulate. Their statement said a confrontation had escalated into a fatal altercation. 18 individuals were arrested, and several senior figures were removed from their posts. Saudi officials described the event as an unauthorized operation and emphasized that leadership had no prior knowledge of what had taken place. Aftermath. Despite the official admission, many questions remained. The location of Khashoggi's body was unknown. Conflicting accounts continued to emerge over the following weeks. In Saudi Arabia, a legal process began. A number of individuals were tried, and in December 2019, 5 were sentenced to death, later commuted after pardons were issued by Salah Khashoggi, Jamal's son. Internationally, the case remained the subject of intense scrutiny. Human rights organizations, journalists, and foreign governments continued to press for more transparency and accountability. A UN-led investigation concluded that Khashoggi had been the victim of a deliberate, premeditated execution, while other official statements from Saudi Arabia maintained the incident was a tragic misstep by individuals acting without orders. The body has never been recovered. The death of Jamal Khashoggi sparked an international reckoning, not only over what happened inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, but why it happened, who ordered it, and how it was covered up. In the aftermath, 6 major theories emerged. Some come from governments, others from journalists, and a few linger in the margins of speculation. Number 1. The Saudi official narrative. Rogue operatives. This is the account publicly maintained by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. According to this version, Khashoggi's death was not planned, but the result of a botched mission gone wrong. In October 2018, Saudi prosecutors claimed a team was sent to Istanbul with instructions to convince Khashoggi to return to the kingdom. But when he resisted, an argument escalated. One operative allegedly placed him in a chokehold, and he died by overdose from a sedative. His body was then dismembered and handed to an unnamed local collaborator for disposal. The Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, was not aware of the plan, according to Saudi officials. Shalan al-Shalan, the deputy public prosecutor, insisted that the mission had no higher authorization. The head of the negotiating team decided on the spot to kill the victim. 5 operatives were sentenced to death, later commuted, and 3 others received prison time. Saud al-Qahtani, a powerful advisor to MBS, was not charged, and General Ahmed al-Asiri, the deputy intelligence chief, was acquitted. Salah Khashoggi, Jamal's son, publicly accepted the verdict and later issued pardons. But outside the kingdom, the theory met with strong skepticism. Agnes Kalamar, UN Special Rapporteur, called the explanation utterly ridiculous, adding, "You do not send 15 people with a forensic doctor and bone saw to negotiate with a journalist." Nonetheless, this theory remains the official story told by the Saudi government, one that frames the killing as unauthorized, unplanned, and resolved. Number 2. MBS gave the green light, one way or another. In contrast to the Saudi account, this theory holds that the murder was sanctioned at the highest level, either directly ordered or implicitly approved by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. This conclusion has been supported by multiple intelligence agencies and independent investigations. On November 16, 2018, The Washington Post and other U.S. outlets reported that the CIA had concluded with medium to high confidence that MBS ordered Khashoggi's assassination. The assessment cited intercepted calls involving MBS's inner circle, the involvement of Maha Mutreb, a known MBS bodyguard, and the fact that MBS tightly controls all security operations in Saudi Arabia. A UN investigation led by Agnes Kalamar in 2019 echoed this view, stating, "There is credible evidence warranting further investigation of high-level Saudi officials' individual liability, including that of the Crown Prince." Others argue that MBS may not have given a literal kill order, but created an environment where operatives interpreted his expectations. Saud al-Qahtani, a close advisor, was known for aggressive suppression of dissent. He once allegedly stated, "I do not do anything without the boss's approval." In a 2019 interview with PBS, MBS said, "It happened under my watch. I take full responsibility, but I did not order it." Whether direct or indirect, this theory asserts that the killing could not have happened without the Crown Prince's blessing, and that the rogue agent story was a cover. Number 3. Rendition or assassination. This theory focuses not on who ordered the operation, but on what the mission actually was. Was it a planned kidnapping that went wrong, or a pre-planned execution from the start? According to the Saudi version, the team was sent to bring Khashoggi back to Riyadh, either by persuasion or force. The killing, they say, occurred only after a confrontation escalated beyond control. But multiple details challenge this. First, the team included Dr. Salah al-Tubaigi, a forensic pathologist who reportedly traveled with a bone saw. Second, audio transcripts leaked to Turkish media suggest no negotiation took place. Instead, Khashoggi was told he had to return. When he objected, a voice allegedly replied, "We will anesthetize you," followed by the sounds of a struggle. The audio allegedly captures his last words as, "I can't breathe." There was also a body double, Mustafa al-Madani, who left the consulate wearing Khashoggi's clothes to create a false trail, something difficult to improvise during an accidental death. Critics argue that every part of the operation appeared rehearsed and that the presence of sedatives, surgical equipment, and dismemberment plans points to intent to kill. Still, it's possible the team was told, bring him back. If he resists, do what you have to. This theory remains divided, but either version suggests that Khashoggi was never meant to walk out freely. Number 4. Why Khashoggi? Even among dissidents, Jamal Khashoggi was a unique figure. This theory explores why he was targeted at all, and why now. At the time of his death, Khashoggi was a columnist for the Washington Post, a US resident with political and media connections, a former insider to the royal court, and the founder of Democracy for the Arab World Now, Dawn, a group advocating for human rights and democratic reform. According to his fiancée Hatice Cengiz, Khashoggi planned to use Dawn as a platform to organize exiled Arab dissidents and challenge authoritarian regimes. A 2020 lawsuit filed on her behalf alleges that Saudi authorities learned of these plans and acted preemptively. As she told CNN, they wanted to silence him permanently because he wasn't just writing, he was organizing. This theory posits that his growing influence and potential to inspire opposition, both inside and outside Saudi Arabia, made him too dangerous to tolerate. Unlike previous dissenters, Khashoggi had both credibility and reach. And for a regime deeply concerned with optics, that combination may have crossed a red line. Number 5. The missing body. Nearly as haunting as the killing itself is the question that still hangs over the case. What happened to Jamal Khashoggi's body? Saudi officials claimed the remains were handed to a local collaborator, but this person was never identified. Turkish investigators offered a more detailed theory. They say that after the killing, Khashoggi's body was dismembered inside the consulate. The parts were transported to the Saudi Consul General's residence, and over the next several days, they were burned in a large outdoor tandoor oven. According to Turkish forensic reports, the oven reached temperatures of over 1,000 degrees Celsius. Neighbors reported smoke and the smell of grilled meat. Investigators later found traces of blood and cleaning agents at the crime scene. No remains have ever been recovered. Whether the body was incinerated, dissolved in chemicals, or scattered elsewhere, the complete erasure points to a preparation for disposal, not a spontaneous act. And with no body, Saudi officials were able to delay and deflect. As UN reporter Kalamar put it bluntly, the absence of a body allowed the Saudi narrative to survive longer than it should have. Number 6. Fringe and conspiracy theories. Finally, a number of alternative theories have circulated, though none with credible support. Some internet speculation has linked Khashoggi's death to Saudi knowledge about 9/11, espionage activities, or deep state plots involving Western governments. Others have proposed that Khashoggi was not killed at all, but abducted and still alive in a secret Saudi facility. There is no credible evidence supporting any of these claims. They are typically based on conjecture, not data, and are widely dismissed by investigators and journalists alike. Still, they highlight the public mistrust surrounding the case, and the void left by official silence and missing facts. Based on the available evidence, testimonies, timelines, and logistical patterns, the most likely scenario is that Jamal Khashoggi was deliberately targeted for elimination in a state-sanctioned operation, approved, either explicitly or implicitly, by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, with a mission designed from the outset not to bring him home, but to ensure he never spoke again. While the official Saudi narrative of rogue agents has failed to withstand even minimal scrutiny, what becomes increasingly clear is that this was not a panicked overreaction or an improvised accident, but a controlled, coordinated ambush facilitated by layers of preparation and a chilling level of confidence. The notion that a 15-man team, containing known members of MBS's inner security circle, including his personal bodyguard and a forensic specialist, assembled across multiple flights and carried tools of dismemberment, all without centralized authorization, stretches credulity to the breaking point. More than that, it raises the question not of who gave the order, but of what kind of machinery would allow that many elite operatives to converge on foreign soil, inside a consulate, on a weekday with apparent legal impunity, unless they were acting with the assurance that someone very powerful wanted results, not accountability. One of the most revealing but under-discussed aspects of the case is the decision to force Khashoggi to collect his document in Istanbul rather than in Washington. He lived in the US, had already gone to the embassy there, and yet was redirected to Turkey, a country where Saudi intelligence could operate more freely and with less American surveillance. That redirection is not a bureaucratic footnote. It is the clearest sign of entrapment and suggests that the consulate meeting was not a spontaneous opportunity, but a baited scenario. And when considering intent, the forensic doctor's presence remains one of the most damning variables. No legitimate extraction operation, even a coercive one, requires surgical-grade saws or a specialist in post-mortem anatomy. While Saudi officials framed his presence as precautionary or rogue, Turkish sources have stated consistently that Dr. Salah al-Tubaigi began preparing for dismemberment within minutes of Khashoggi's death. Notably, the team brought not only tools and doctors, but a body double, Mustafa al-Madani, who wore Khashoggi's clothes and exited the building on camera, indicating a level of scripted cover-up that again contradicts the notion of a panicked crime. No legitimate rendition effort would anticipate the need to impersonate a man unless they knew in advance that he would not be alive to speak for himself. Then there's the body itself, still missing, despite years of searching. The idea that a local collaborator disposed of it is not just unproven, but strategically useful. Without a body, the Saudis were able to delay confirming his death, sow doubt, and maintain plausible deniability. Turkish investigators later pointed to the oven in the consul general's backyard, where days of high heat burning took place, and meat was grilled to mask the scent. That isn't the behavior of people who accidentally caused a death. That's a team that came prepared to vanish a body and believed they had enough diplomatic insulation to do so in plain sight. One cannot ignore that the operatives flew out of Turkey that same day, and that when Turkish police were finally allowed into the crime scene, the walls had been repainted and security hard drives were missing. These are not the actions of a team afraid of punishment. They are the behaviors of men who believed they were carrying out a difficult, distasteful task, one that someone at the very top expected them to complete. The Crown Prince's later statement that he bears responsibility as a leader is carefully worded but revealing. It avoids the question of direct order while admitting control. And in truth, whether he said the words "kill him" may not matter. In authoritarian structures, outcomes are often shaped not by instruction, but by environment. If his inner circle believed that silencing Khashoggi would win favor or remove a threat to the prince's image abroad, then his complicity is not incidental, it is systemic. The argument that MBS didn't know requires assuming that this multi-layered, resource-intensive mission unfolded under his nose without any accountability, even though those involved were his aides, his guards, and his doctor. Occam's razor suggests otherwise. No theory explains the totality of events, from the baiting of Istanbul to the cover-up, to the incineration of remains and the body double deception, better than the simplest one. That this was a planned assassination, carried out by loyal operatives with knowledge that the mission had royal approval, even if unofficial, and that Khashoggi's elimination was seen as both a warning to others and a clean solution to a mounting PR problem. While the precise wording of that approval may remain unknowable, the structure, timing, and conduct of the operation speak for themselves. Jamal Khashoggi was not the victim of a rogue blunder. He was the target of a regime determined to silence dissent by any means necessary, and confident that no one would hold them to account.